Kia ora and welcome everyone. So good to have you on today's Thought Leadership Series session. I want you just to think to yourself first. I want you to imagine yourself in January 2020. What was your big dream for 2020? And what changed? January 2020. What was your big dream? And what changed? For many of us, it was quite a drastic change as the world went into lockdown with our COVID, and everything we knew changed on a dime. And so we had to be very agile and adaptable in that moment. And people were able to change the way they do things around the world. Just think how many people are now online, in Zooms, being able to communicate rather than flying around the world or driving down the road to be able to connect with each other. In that moment of forced change, we were all able to be agile and adaptable. But how can we do that more often? How can we do that in times where it's not life or death? Think about if your house was burning, down, how quickly would you be able to make a decision? For most people, they will quickly go and they might grab, their children, their family, maybe a pet, one quick belonging as they head out the door. You're able to make a quick decision and move fast. But for many of us, we really struggle with change. As the current Canadian Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, once said, the pace of change has never been this fast, yet it will never be this slow again. Isn't that fascinating? It has never been this fast, yet it will never be this slow again. And so I want you to ponder that we're going to have more change and it's going to be faster as we go through future. So we need to be future ready. That means we need to have these skills to be agile and adaptable when it comes to change. Thinking back to that question I asked at the beginning, imagine January 2020, what was your big dream and how did it change? For me, it's never the ability to change has never been so big as it has been in 2023. 2020 for me was actually quite easy. 2023, we're in different circumstances. We moved to the Central Coast 1 year ago. We have a baby, Aroha, who is 7.5 months old. She was born 3 weeks early. So you can imagine everything we had planned in those 3 weeks before she was due had to change really fast. We had to adapt and be agile because she arrived earlier than expected. But to watch her change every single day, have disrupted sleep patterns, have two parents working from home. Gee, haven't we heard that all now, working from home? No family support, no friend network nearby. For me, I generally travel every week or every second week. And now Julie is taking up the new acronym of WAFH, so rather than WFH, and that is working away from home. So for the last 2 weeks, Julie is now working away from her house. And so you can imagine without parents, without a real friend network nearby, there are certain challenges. And so right beside me, for the next 3 weeks, I actually have daddy daycare all day, plus running a global business. And right now, my 7.5-month daughter, who is actually speaking right now at the moment, is sitting down beside me playing and probably will join the call. But I want you to place in the chat for you, what is your biggest change in 2023? What is your biggest change in 2023? Pop it in the chat. What is your biggest change in 2023? I shared mine, and that is having a baby girl, a beautiful change, but that meant lots of other changes, and I needed to be agile and adaptable along the way. So Rahul joined a new organization from IT sector to healthcare. Great. And by the way, we will use these later on in this session. Having a career break after 20 years, Joey, yes, that's a big change. And I know some of the challenges you went through even getting to that point of making that change. Rob, settling into the pace and flow of work in local government compared to sport delivery. Okay, big shift. David, transitioning from leader worker to leader entrepreneur. Helen is finishing her book and finding speaking roles. So that's a big change for you. Coaching the unemployed, Brenda. What an amazing gift and big shift for this year. I love that. It's really, really good. Now, humans are meant to change and evolve. You know, it's part of us as growing up. There we go. Someone is moving out and living alone for the first time from Pier 1. Congratulations. A big, bold move. So it's hardwired in our DNA to adapt to our surroundings. So we've done that for thousands and thousands of years. But we find comfort in our habits, but they also can narrowly define who we are or narrowly define our role or what we're capable of. Charles Darwin mentioned that it's not the strongest of the species that survive, nor the most intelligent, but those most responsive to change. And so change is something that all of us need. And I want you to consider that adaptability and agility are the new competitive advantage for all professionals. Adaptability and agility are the new competitive advantage for professionals. So let's have a look at what these are, because it's important to understand the difference between adaptability and agility when it comes to change. So with regards adaptability, it's about the openness to change. It's we want to be open to change, and it's our ability to adapt and go with change as it goes along, or be willing to make those changes. Agility is the speed of our change, or the ability to change direction quickly. And so we need both of these to be able to really progress in our careers and to achieve greater things, be more productive, greater performance. So being agile at work, means quickly to respond to those ideas, expectations, maybe responsibilities, the trends that are happening in your marketplace, the strategies, or even other processes. That adaptability, being open to changing ourselves to a new set of circumstances or environment. And we saw that in the chat there, people moving out, people that are transitioning from working to now maybe being a solopreneur or taking a break or shifting industries and the challenges that may face. So I want you to think as adaptability as planning for the future. Adaptability is a skill set we need to plan for the future. It's centered around considering all possible options, identifying opportunities, and devising a plan. So being adaptable is taking more of a future view and planning for that and being ready to adapt in any one moment. But agility is, that swift action and response to unforeseeable events. So adaptability, we can adapt at any point based on where we see the future or what we think is possible or identifying opportunities. Whereas agility is, when it comes to change, is when something happens that is unforeseen and now we have to be able to shift on a dime. So I want you to pop into the chat. Are you more agile or more adaptable? Are you more agile or adaptable? And I'm going to be agile because I've got a baby girl that wants to play and wants to be seen. So I'm probably going to have a helping hand for the rest of this session. Okay, so David is both. For others, are you more agile or more adaptable? So Fiona, more agile. David, very cute. Okay, let's focus in here, team. Adaptable, agile. Joey's both. Tracy, more adaptable. Okay, which is great. Okay, now I want you to go back now to that question I asked earlier, and what was the biggest change for you in 2023? If you weren't here at the beginning, I want you to think about what is that big change for 2023. Now, I want you to use that, and I'm going to do an exercise with you now, because we need to get to the heart of change. And in that instance, I want you to consider. So you may want to grab a piece of paper or split up and cut it and put a line down the middle, or you may want to get, if you're using a computer, just kind of split the page in half. And I now want you to be able to, on the left side, I want you to put down the fears, what you don't like about that change, or when you were considering the change, or when you were, so either if you're more of an adaptable person, and what was your ability, your fear of adapting or changing to something new, or if it was more in the agility stage, what was those fears when you saw change happen and you had to respond to it? So why don't you like this? Let's give you a moment to do that. Thanks, Aroha. Maybe for me, having being daddy daycare at the moment and presenting, maybe the fear is that will this get disrupted so much that I won't be able to deliver a great outcome for the people that are on the call? All right, so write those down. But now I want you to write down what are the benefits. So when you think about that change in that moment, what could have been the benefits for you? Obviously, it's in hindsight now, so you'll probably be able to see what the benefits are that have occurred because of it. But think back to when you were in that moment, what could have been the benefits of making that change? And this is really important. When you're considering being adaptable and looking at the future, being able to write down what are your fears and benefits will really help you get clarity and help you get through that process. If it's in the moment, then being able to write these things down gives you clarity and helps you make decisions faster. And being agile and adaptable is all about decision making. Okay, so I want you to keep that there. But when it comes to effective change, now this is whether you're leading change or for yourself, or you're leading change in an organization, there are three key components. And actually, I'm going to get people to write in the chat first. What do you think is absolutely important when it comes to being able to deliver effective change? What is required to deliver effective change? Pop that in the chat. What is needed or required to deliver effective change? What do you think? Openness. Great, Rahul. I like that. Clarity on expectations of all parties. Great. I love that from the team at Pier 1 there. Tracy, positive mindset. Joey, conviction and transparency on purpose. Yes, we need that real conviction. Clarity of direction. Why good? What will it look like? What's needed of people? Awesome. Buy-in from everyone. Clear communication. Okay, these are really, really good. I'm going to share the three things that I find are the most important when it comes to change. And so all these things in here are really good. Some of you are touching on one of them. But to achieve successful change, we need the following three things. The first one is a sense of urgency. So if we're going to actually follow through on the change and get people to buy in and to actually get to the point where we actually achieve the outcome of the change, we first need a real sense of urgency. And so if you're leading people, you've really got to magnify and amplify the change or the opportunity. So it's either magnify and amplify the change, magnify or amplify the problem or the opportunity. And when it comes to the opportunity, consider the missed cost of not changing, right? So at the moment, there's a lot of people talking about artificial intelligence that could help speed up processes. Now, if you don't change, your business could still do well, your processes will still happen, but the missed cost of not changing is that people spend a lot more time on mundane things and less time on the things that could be really making a difference in that organization. Okay, so magnify, then amplify the change, which is really important. The second component here is clarity. And we were talking, a lot of people talking about clear communication and vision. When it comes to change, you need, and if it's for yourself and for others, it's exactly the same. You need three components here. I'll just stop sharing so you can all see me. So the first one is clarity on what you know. The second one is on what you don't know. And the third clarity you need is the next action. So what you know, what you don't know, and what you're going to do next. That next action is so crucial to be able to achieve successful change. And so I want you to be able to really consider that for yourself or for your team when you're doing that. Those who can clearly articulate are the ones who are most successful. When COVID hit right at the beginning, the leaders who hesitated and weren't able to give clarity on these components and were they thought maybe they were being vulnerable, like, oh, I don't know what to do. This is all a bit crazy. And they were sharing their feelings. It actually wasn't, to me, it was irresponsible. And therefore, in that moment, you needed to be responsible. Like, rather than showing all your vulnerability on how you're feeling and you're scared, etc., actually show what you know, what you don't know, and next action. In those moments of big crisis, you actually need command. You need command and control leadership, right? And even for yourself, sometimes we get too caught up in worrying about too many things. And that's why I like to do that task we just did before, which was around the fears and benefits, to do that first. And then it helps you to get clarity quick on what you do know, don't know, and what the next action is, because that decision-making will help you move forward faster. So let's have a look at the third one now. And by the way, if you have any questions, pop them in the chat. I'll try and pick them up along the way. Or maybe Aroha can point them out to me as we're going through. The third one there is being able to visualize the change. If we cannot see the change, people will not believe in it, you will not believe in it, and therefore it won't occur. This here is the most crucial one. You need the urgency, you need the clarity, but unless people can visualize the change, they're not actually going to be able to, they won't buy in, they won't feel confident on it, and therefore then they will either sabotage it by not really conforming or complying or putting 100% in, or they will just go missing in a way. And so those components are really, really important from there. So from an effective change point of view. Now, we talked about adaptability and agility. So I'm going to go through adaptability, then I'll go through an agility. So we'll look at an adaptability mindset, and then we'll look at embracing agility. And so when it comes to adaptability, we need to condition ourselves for change. And we need to shift ourselves from change resistance, okay, and to change renaissance. So I want you to kind of thinking about change as, rather than resisting and fighting a change, think about it as a renaissance, a rebirth, right? So rebirth is what renaissance is. So it's like a kind of a new change. And so, there we go. That might help you. All right, so we need to be able to respond rather than react when it comes to change, and be prepared for it. And that's an adaptability mindset. So let's have a look at benefits of being adaptable, especially when it comes to the corporate world or for you as a leader. All right, so the first one here, it builds resistance. And so it helps us start to become a little bit more comfortable in the uncomfortable. The second one here is it'll start setting you apart. People will, because when you're being adaptable, you start to think outside the box. You're curious. You start to look at things in a different light. You're problem solving more often. And therefore, you start to stand out in the eyes of other people. The third one is it feels good, because you're able to seek and find solutions more easily. All right, so it feels good. We can seek and find solutions more easily. Then we start getting sought after, because people see that you're able to use your critical thinking to be able to solve problems. So they start to seek you out when there are challenges, because you can help them get through that process quicker. All right, sorry team. What I'd like you to do, just one moment here. I'm going to give you the fifth one. I'm just going to pop her in something here. Is that it boosts productivity. And just in the next minute, while I look after Aroha, can you just pop into the chat there one thing that has resonated with you the most so far today? Okay, one thing. I'll be back in a second. Okay. Okay. we go. You're going to go flying. Yeah. Here we go. Here we go. Good girl. All right. Here you go. Yeah. All right. So back online. Sorry. Yeah, boost productivity because you spend less time worrying and more time actioning when it comes to being adaptable. Let's have a look at change adaptability. Very good. There we go, popping in the chat. The importance of visualization, change to succeed. Very good, the team at Peer 1. Unchild, the cost of not changing. Very good. All right, so I want you to look at three things from a change adaptability. We're going to look at cognitive, we're going to look at emotional, and we're going to look at personal change. Okay, cognitive, emotional, and personal. When it comes to cognitive, we want to use what we did at the beginning. We need to look at our fears. We need to look at the benefits. So this is all the thinking part when it comes to adaptability. So cognitive thinking. So those fears, write down the benefits, then get real clarity on what the change is. So the outcome, what the change is and the outcome of it. The fourth one is plan. So you want to map out how you will approach, achieve, and review the change. And then the fifth one is timeline. What are the key milestones? So we've got fears, benefits, outcome, plan, and timeline. So that's for cognitive. When it comes to emotional, it's our ability to accept and acknowledge that each person will be a little bit different and that it's okay to be different when it comes to change. And so we need to think about how we accept change, how we manage change, and how we're going to transition through change. So that's the emotional part, accept, manage, and transition through change. When it comes to personal, it's thinking about where are we right now and where do we want to be? And it needs both a realism and an optimism mindset. We don't want pessimism here when it comes to change. You can't have a pessimistic mindset. We need both a realism and a optimism. And so start to think about things like accepting change as positive or seeing change as an opportunity. But it's really about shifting that mindset to, okay, change is happening rather than fear it. Now let's use it as an opportunity. So what I'm going to do to make it a little bit easier, I'm going to pop a couple of things in the chat here around personal. And these are some things you can kind of think about and ask yourself in regards to being adaptable. So let's let you go through that a little bit there. So we've got things like accepting change, opportunity, the ability to adapt plans, maybe remain, how can we admit personal mistakes? So these type of things helps us with our personal adaptability. So which one of those, cognitive, emotional, or personal, do you think you need to work on more? Okay, you don't have to write in the chat, just think about it. Do you need to work on more of the thinking part, more on the feeling part, or more on from a personal approach point of view? The final part we're going to tap into here now is embracing agility. And so we're going to have a quick look at the benefits of agility. Okay, so being able to improve our agility skills when it comes to change will enable us to be in a position where we take more risks. It will improve our problem solving. It shifts us from using resources and focusing more on being resourceful. You start to be seen as someone who has a keen focus on things. So people will then notice that. And so it'll help you both in your career or when you're working with clients or in your relationships or social life. But most importantly, you shift from being a consumer to now being a contributor, which is a really important part when you are part of a team environment or you're part of an industry or you're leading a team. How can you shift from consumer to contributor? 5 ways that we can embrace agility going forward, think about how we can shift from fixed mindset to growth mindset. So being coachable, being open to new ideas, listening for different perspectives. And so there are many ways we can be growth mindset. It could be having a coach. It could be reading and learning more. It could be putting ourselves out of a comfort zone to listen to something we normally wouldn't. Keep an open mind on things. So rather than, it's kind of similar to that fixed growth mindset. Leave the ego at the door. So when it comes to change, you've got to separate your ego, your sort of self-worth and high confidence, to just make sure that you've got a little bit of a reality check, to be a little bit vulnerable in the situation, so that you can be agile enough when there needs to be change to not be stuck in your own ways. Go out of your comfort zone, anticipate change. So we all know that change is happening every single day, and that big changes are going to happen in the world. And you all have the skill sets and tools to be able to be agile and adapt in those situations. And shift, going into more collaboration rather than working in isolation. How can you partner with people? How can you collaborate more? That's the beauty of what we do here at Speakers Institute Corporate. It is very much a collaboration, and we're always working in those teams. So I want you to leave you with that adapting to change will take time. It's a mental journey, and to grow your agility and adaptability does take time, and you've got to be willing to persevere through that. We are creatures of habit, but fortunately, we have the great capacity to change. And it's important for us to learn to acknowledge and accept change. So I want you to pop into the chat right now. What is the one thing that has resonated with you the most today? I want you to pop that into the chat. It's been beautiful working with you, talking about agility and adaptability and change. And look, I would love the opportunity to speak with you more if you want some help around how you can either improve the agility and adaptability of change in yourself or with your team.